My fiancé and my backstabbing friend had long betrayed me, casting me out to feed the zombies. Reborn, I rented the house directly across from them and stockpiled supplies, spending all the dowry and the money meant for our home's renovation. The zombie outbreak struck again. Now, I could finally recline on my balcony and watch them lovingly endure the apocalypse together. 1. When I opened my eyes in bed, I thought I had experienced a terrifying nightmare. In my dream, my limbs had been gnawed down to blood and bone by zombies, my intestines dragged out of my abdomen, and the air was thick with the stench of blood and decay. I lay rotting in the corridor like a piece of carrion, slowly losing my last breath amidst excruciating pain. So, waking up suddenly now, my body still remembered the pain, and the limbs I had lost in the dream were paralyzed. What's wrong, honey? Did you have a nightmare? My fiancé, Li Xiao, who was playing with his phone beside me, noticed my trembling and tried to pull me into an embrace. Seeing Li Xiao's face, a wave of nausea surged in me. My hands finally moved, and my first instinct was to push him away. He was irritated by my sudden fit, but quickly regained his composure, plastering a smile on his face. Honey, I have some things to do today. Is there anything you'd like to eat? I'll bring it back for you tonight. Hearing this, I hastily checked my phone. The 24th of June 2064, 9:44 a.m. The same time, the same words. So, it wasn't a dream. I had been reborn after my death, back to the day before the zombie outbreak. Li Xiao saw me staring blankly at my phone and shook me gently. Around 10, the people from the renovation company will come to sign the contract. Remember to pay them, okay? 2. Before the wedding, Li Xiao had bought this house with full payment. It's the same one I moved into to live with him. When we discussed getting married, he asked me to use the 500,000 yen I had saved from years of working to renovate the house. You don't have parents, so I'm your closest family now. Isn't this money part of our joint assets? After we get married, your name will be added to the house deed. This is your house too. Whether we spend the money sooner or later, it makes no difference. The sooner we renovate, the sooner we can move in, right? Under his constant persuasion, I was somewhat swayed. Later, to show his sincerity in treating me like family, he voluntarily transferred a 100,000 yen dowry to me. This tactic successfully dispelled my last doubts, and I signed the contract with the renovation company he recommended without any investigation, paying the initial 600,000 yen upfront. As it turned out, the company was a shell company run by his brother, Yang Jie. The 600,000 yen was funneled through his brother's hands, who kept a few tens of thousands as a service fee, with the rest ending up in Li Xiao's pocket. Not only did Li Xiao scam me out of my savings with this pig slaughtering plate scheme, but he also hooked up with my backstabbing friend, Cheng Shuangshuang. After the zombie outbreak, Cheng Shuangshuang got trapped in my house. Suspecting their affair, I secretly checked Li Xiao's phone. To my shock, I uncovered a trove of chilling revelations. In my previous life, my genuine affection was treated as garbage by these two scoundrels, who trampled and toyed with it. Before I could even settle the score, they threw me out to feed the zombies to monopolize the supplies. I died a horrific death in utter despair. If I don't exact revenge in this life, I won't be able to forgive myself. Seeing my stiff expression, Li Xiao thought I was still in a bad mood from waking up and reminded me once more. Coming back to my senses, I suppressed my anger and made a few casual responses. He didn't notice anything unusual, packed up, and left. I watched from the balcony as his car drove out of the community, then packed important items and clothes into a suitcase from Li Xiao's house. I even stuffed the drone he bought into it and headed straight for the security booth at the community gate. There was a notice board set up by the property management there, usually for posting lost and found notices or rental information. I would often take a look when I jogged by. Among the various rental ads, I quickly found the one I remembered and dialed the number on it. Hello, is this Miss Zhang? I'd like to rent your house. Are you available to sign the lease now? The house Miss Zhang was renting out was directly across from Li Xiao's. The two buildings weren't very far apart, and last weekend, when the tenant from the opposite side moved out, I had noticed from my balcony. Miss Zhang seemed to live in this community too. She arrived shortly after hanging up the phone. Seeing me with a suitcase to view the house, she asked about my situation out of concern. I candidly told her that I was moving out because my fiancé had cheated, and I had no family to rely on. Moved by empathy between women, she offered to rent it to me for 500 yen less and said, I'm older than you, so you can call me Sister Yao from now on. I moved out because my elderly family members came to live with me, and the house wasn't big enough, so I bought a bigger one in the opposite C building, Unit 1701, which is very close. It's fate that we met, so if you need anything, come find me, or you can always come over to my place for a meal. 3. Sister Yao had a sincere and warm demeanor typical of northern women. I was very pleased with both her and the house. We quickly signed the contract and exchanged WeChat contacts. Just as she handed me the keys and was about to leave, I thought for a moment and stopped her. Sister Yao, if you trust me, you should reinforce your home's defenses today and stock up on food, water, and daily necessities as soon as possible. There might be a major upheaval tomorrow. Sister Yao was momentarily stunned and asked what kind of upheaval I was talking about and how I knew about it. I could only say that I had learned through some connections and couldn't divulge the details. Perhaps she had a natural trust in me. She simply said, all right, reminded me to protect myself too, and hurried away. I immediately called a locksmith to come and replace the door with a reinforced anti-theft model. Just then, a strange phone call came through. I guessed it was from the renovation company Li Xiao had contacted and answered it. Hello? Is this Miss Shu? This is Xiao Yang from the renovation company. We've been ringing your doorbell for a while, but there's no response. Could you please open the door? I'm so sorry, I replied in an apologetic tone. I had something urgent to attend to and had to leave. Could you come back in an hour? The person on the line eagerly agreed. Sure, no problem. After the locksmith finished installing the new door, I slipped him some extra cash and asked him to change the lock on the communal door in the hallway as well. This building had 2 units per floor, so if the communal door was locked, it would be like having 2 doors, a double layer of security. As soon as the locksmith left, the workers I had arranged to replace the security bars and windows arrived. The head worker, a sincere-looking man, shook the existing invisible security bars on the balcony and said, I think what you have now is pretty good. Most people install these invisible ones. The full enclosure kind affects aesthetics, isn't well ventilated, and makes it hard to hang clothes. Seeing such a straightforward person, I had to come up with a reason. This community had a theft incident before. The victim also had these invisible bars, which were no use against burglars. Now, every night I feel like I hear someone cutting the security bars, and it's giving me a nervous breakdown. I'd rather have the balcony fully enclosed for peace of mind. The worker understood my other request to replace all the glass with bulletproof ones and apply one-way film, so he didn't ask further questions. He took the measurements and said he would prepare the materials at the shop and could come back in the afternoon to install them. After sending off both workers, I hurried to the supermarket to make a major purchase. Just as I arrived at the entrance of the Sam's Club supermarket, I received another call from Yang Jie. Miss Shu, have you returned home? Oh dear, I haven't finished my errands yet. How about you wait for me another hour? The voice on the other end sounded noticeably displeased, but he agreed curtly before hanging up. With a card loaded with 600,000 yuan, I entered a wholesale supermarket. The frustration that had been weighing on my chest since I woke up this morning suddenly found an outlet. I approached an employee and explained that I was sent by the company's procurement department to purchase employee welfare items. I asked for help in moving a cart to collect the items I selected. Not knowing how long this endurance battle would last, I chose mostly non-perishable foods to ensure I wouldn't starve. Instant noodles, rice vermicelli, self-heating hot pots, canned meat, canned fruit, canned vegetables, jerky, compressed biscuits, small loaves of bread, rice, flour, various sauces, and peanut oil. Considering the electricity issue, I had already scheduled a technician to install 3 solar panels at my home this afternoon, which should be enough to power the 2 newly purchased freezers. So I added some refrigerated food as well. Frozen dumplings, steaks, fish fillets, chicken. I planned to use the original refrigerator in the house to store fresh vegetables and fruits. Cabbage, onions, oranges, apples, corn, potatoes. Passing by the snacks section, I picked up some of my favorite treats, especially the sweet ones. Chips, various flavors of chocolate, assorted candies, instant milk tea, instant coffee. With most of the food bought, I realized I lacked basic household items since I had just rented a new place, so I needed to buy everything. Bedding, quilts, electric blankets, slippers. And consumables like toothpaste, toothbrushes, body wash, shampoo, laundry detergent, tissues, sanitary pads. I checked the list of items I had prepared in advance, and it seemed I had just about everything for survival. Suddenly, I remembered that I forgot to buy a high-powered binocular. That's the key item, haha. After gathering all the goods, the staff led me through the bulk purchase checkout lane, and I paid for the delivery service to have everything sent directly to my home. After leaving the supermarket, while I was packing common medications at the pharmacy, Yang Jie called me for the 3rd time. When I answered, I immediately pretended to be in a hurry. Mr. Yang, is that you? I was just about to call you back. I just discovered my bank card was stolen and I entered the wrong password, so it's been frozen. I'm currently waiting in line at the bank to sort it out. How about you come by tomorrow morning instead? I'm really sorry for making you run around today. I'll add an extra 5,000 yen for your trouble tomorrow, alright? While I said the first part, Yang Jie remained silent, seemingly on the verge of anger. But after I finished the second part, his tone quickly softened. No trouble at all, no trouble. It's the least I can do. I'll come at the same time tomorrow morning. You should hurry and resolve the bank card issue first. After hanging up, I smirked to myself. Who doesn't know how to act? It's not just you, Yang Jie, or Li Xiao. Most of the supplies were bought, but I still felt uneasy. In my previous life, I was defenseless and was at the mercy of those 2 treacherous people. In this life, if they happen to find me and my stockpile, they will surely harbor even darker intentions. After much thought, I decided to prepare some hardcore defensive tools. First, to defend against any zombie attacks, and second, to avoid being backstabbed by those 2. I took a cab to the renovation market and entered a hardware store where I bought a high-voltage stun baton, a rechargeable, extendable saw, and iron wire. With these in hand, if those scoundrels dare come near me, I'll have no qualms about electrocuting them or chopping off their heads. After purchasing, I checked the time, and it was almost when the technician was supposed to arrive. I paid the store owner for delivery, then hailed a cab to return home. In the car, I called several nearby water stations and ordered over 200 barrels of water, paying extra to have them all delivered to my home. When I arrived at my doorstep, I found the technician and workers filling the entire hallway, all waiting with their equipment. I quickly apologized and let them in to start the installation. Once the workers had finished and left, I organized the delivered supplies, but the 2 large rooms were already filled to the brim, so the rest had to be placed in the living room. By the time I finished, night had fallen. My phone showed more than 20 missed calls. Most were from Li Xiao, and a few were from my so-called green tea friend, Cheng Shuang. I locked the door and started taking the elevator down, calling Shuang back as I walked. Hello, Shuang? I was busy and didn't hear my phone. What's up? Her voice on the other end was soft, with a hint of tears. Ying, I had a fight with my boyfriend, and I feel so suffocated and miserable. The first person I thought of was you. Men will never be as good as our sisters. I must admit, Shuang is quite adept at playing the weak and providing emotional value. For someone like me, who grew up lacking parental and sibling affection, what I craved most was a relationship that was close to me all the time. So, in my previous life, whenever Shuang acted pitifully in front of me, I couldn't help but go to great lengths for her, giving in to all her whims. Low-level green tea girls only charm men, but the high-level ones are practically psychologists, capable of ensnaring both men and women. Hearing her words, I sounded worried. Then why don't you stay at my place tonight? Don't stay with that jerk. Shuang continued to cry over the phone. But it's so late now, and it's so dark outside. I'm scared to take a cab alone. I immediately stepped up. I'll take a cab to pick you up right now. If she's truly too scared to come, wouldn't my script lack a leading actress? Pick her up. I must pick her up. The moment I opened my door, Li Xiao immediately stood up from the living room sofa, visibly exuding low spirits. But seeing Shuang behind me, his mood balanced out, and he even spoke with a hint of indulgence. Oh, I was wondering why you weren't answering your phone. So, you were with her? Well, Li Xiao. You weren't saying that to me, were you? Did Shuang ask you to confront me? But you haven't got your hands on the money yet, so you refused. Then she ignored your messages and calls, leaving you angry and frustrated, ready to take it all out on me. Do you think I've guessed correctly? But this green tea is clever. She slaps you, then gives you a sweet candy, by asking me to bring her over. Happy now, scumbag? I caught a glimpse of Shuang pouting at him from behind, and Li Xiao awkwardly shifted his gaze elsewhere. How obvious. What in the world blinded me in my last life that I didn't see through these details at all? Li Xiao pretended to ask nonchalantly. Did you get the bank card issue sorted? I acted troubled. No, by the time it was my turn, the person in charge had left, but the teller promised me the first spot tomorrow morning, so I'll have to go early to get it sorted. Hearing this, Li Xiao had nothing more to say and lay back down on the sofa, playing on his phone. I turned to Shuang. It's late. You should take a shower first. The guest room is always ready for you. I even changed the sheets and bedding a few days ago. She happily leapt over, showering my face with kisses. I love you the most, Ying. You're my closest sister in this life. You're always number 1 in my heart. My mom can only be second. Though I was rolling my eyes internally, I still kept up appearances, hugging her with a sweet smile. You're my favorite too, Shuang. You're number 1, Li Xiao is number 2. You'll be the first to die, and Li Xiao the second. Satisfied with this arrangement? Li Xiao glanced at us, jokingly saying. You two are so cheesy, I'm about to puke, my dear. Is that so? Weren't you the one who loved it most when this vixen sent you cringer messages on WeChat? Hubby, I can't sleep. Hubby, I really want to hug you. Hubby, can you kiss me more next time? Hearing Li Xiao call me my dear, Shuang immediately let go and walked straight to the bathroom. Does this little witch even have the nerve to be jealous right in front of me? Hold on just a little longer, Shuoying. Just a bit longer. The happier this despicable couple is now, the more miserable they will be later. 7. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, when people were in deep sleep, but I opened my eyes excitedly. I got out of bed quietly, went to the utility room, and slowly pushed the largest suitcase to the refrigerator and opened it. I slowly opened the refrigerator door and put the food into the suitcase one by one until the refrigerator was completely emptied. I stuffed all the food in the kitchen and living room into the suitcase, filling it up. I closed it and fastened the buckle. Just as I was about to pick up the suitcase lying on the ground and push it to the door. Click. The door handle of the main room was twisted. Damn it. Li Xiao woke up. My heart sank, I dropped the suitcase, and hid sideways in the gap between the refrigerator and the wall. Almost at the same time, Li Xiao opened the door and walked out, twisting the handle and gently closing the door. Did he hear my noise and get up to check? From where he stood, he could reach out and turn on the main light in the living room, and he would see the big suitcase lying next to the refrigerator and the half of my body that couldn't fit into the gap. My mind went blank. Just when I thought fate was going to play a trick on me again, he tiptoed towards the guest room. He didn't turn on the light, and didn't notice such a big abnormality hidden in the dark. After about 1 minute later, Cheng Shuang's coquettish voice came from the guest room, to you're so bad. And Li Xiao's voice in a low voice, SHH, keep your voice down. You'll wake up the fat pig. Are you sure she didn't notice? I feel like there's something wrong with the fat pig today, but I can't tell. That idiot is sleeping with her head covered. I don't know what she's thinking with her pig brain. She always takes you, my big baby, to accompany me. Let me kiss you, I miss you so much. To know, when are you going to confront her? I feel sick every day when I see that ugly pig face, and you still call her wife in front of me. Get off the bed. Baby, don't be angry. I'll buy you the Chanel bag I liked last time when I get the money. Be good. You said it. Don't regret it. Ha ha ha. Every word that the couple mocked me passed through the dead silence around me and reached my ears clearly. I was so angry that I trembled all over in the dirty gap. Every inch of my skin was burning and smoking. Laugh at my pig brain. I went back to the main room and stuffed the phone that Li Xiao had forgotten to take when he was going to have an affair into my bag. I put on my pajamas, pulled up my suitcase, and walked out of this house without looking back. The first thing I did after leaving was to lock the 2 dogs in the house. The second thing was to blacklist Cheng Shuangshui's WeChat and phone number. I want to see, in a few hours, who of you two will find out that you are the first to have a pig brain. 8. I went back to the house I rented and locked the double doors. Looking at the full room of supplies, the breath that was about to explode in my lungs was exhaled heavily. I kicked the suitcase aside, lay down on the new bed in the main room and stretched my waist. I don't have to lie with dirty dogs anymore, it's so refreshing. What else is there to be angry about? The alarm clock rang at 9 o'clock in the morning. I woke up energetically, leaned on the back of the bed, and took out the scumbag's mobile phone. I had cracked his password in the last life. In this life, he didn't know that I had discovered his affair, let alone changed the password. I restarted the phone and successfully unlocked the screen. There were more than 100 incoming call reminder text messages from Cheng Shuangshui lying in the list. I walked to the balcony with a smile, lay comfortably on the rocking chair, and put my eyes into the telescope I had set up long ago. In the picture, Li Xiao was as irritable as a lion whose tail was stepped on and his fur was standing up. He was running around in the house, and the floor was full of his smashed things, a mess. Cheng Shuangshuang was next to him, pulling him while calling, as if trying to comfort him. I turned on the wiretap receiver I bought from a black stall in the decoration market, and immediately heard obscene words. You Shuying. Don't let me catch you, I'm a bitch. Oh my god, this series of telegrams really pollutes my ears, so I turned it off first. Li Xiao is really something, now the house is in such a mess, how can I receive guests later? I took out my mobile phone, took pictures of the conversations and short videos between Li Xiao and Cheng Shuangshuang on WeChat that were comparable to pornographic texts, and forwarded them to Cheng Shuangshuang's current boyfriend, Xi Chao. Cheng Shuangshuang, this thing, disappoints me in other things, but her vision in choosing men never disappoints me. To put it nicely, it's called love brain, to put it bluntly, it's just cheap. She almost picked up all the men in the garbage dump, otherwise she wouldn't smell the stench and hook up with Li Xiao. When I used to treat her as a close girlfriend, I was really disappointed. I don't know how many times I scolded her. But no matter how much I scolded her, every time she was tortured by various scumbags and suffered physically and mentally, I was the first to rush to the front to stand up for her, and even got into a lot of trouble myself, lost several jobs, and moved several times. Fortunately, she didn't listen to me and found another scumbag, Xu Chao. Xu Chao called me very soon. I sorted out my emotions and answered the phone. Brother Chao, woo woo woo. I want to apologize to you. No wonder you beat her before, she really. Woo woo woo, I don't know what to do now, Brother Chao, please come to justice. Xu Chao yelled on the phone and my eardrums were about to burst. What the hell dared to cheat on me? I'll kill them. Send me your home address immediately. Keep an eye on them and don't let them run away, I'm going there now. 9. After hanging up the phone, I immediately sent the detailed address and house number to Xi Chao and told him where the door key I had hidden was. The neighborhood where he lives is only a dozen minutes drive away, so I don't have to wait too long, haha. I rubbed my hands in anticipation, and took this opportunity to get up and open the suitcase I brought back from the scumbag's house, and put the collected food into the refrigerator and cupboard. After finishing the arrangement, I looked at the time, and it was a few minutes before 10 o'clock. Oh my, the good show is about to begin. I rushed to the balcony excitedly, turned on the receiver, adjusted the angle of the telescope, and looked across. Li Xiao was already tired, and now he was sitting on the sofa in the living room with a dark face. Cheng Shuangshuang beside him stroked his back again and again. Hubby, don't be angry. The locksmith will be here soon. When the door is opened, I will accompany you to the business hall to apply for a new SIM card, and then buy a new mobile phone. I will buy it for you. Don't be angry, husband to two. TSK, I really don't understand, what's wrong with her brain? Licking a scammer like this? Li Xiao raised his elbow irritably to push Cheng Shuangshuang away, but she was reluctant to get close to him. At this moment, the door was kicked open, and the locksmith Xi Chao rushed into the house with murderous intent. Before the couple could react, he grabbed Li Xiao's neck and lifted him up from the sofa like a chicken, and threw him to the ground viciously. The area was full of broken cup fragments, and Li Xiao lay on it, curled up, with a face full of pain. Before he could groan, Xu Chao sat on Li Xiao like a mountain, swinging his fist and hitting the scumbag's head again and again. You dare to touch my woman, you are too damn long. Sharp porcelain pieces pierced his back, and his face was hit by a fist as big as a casserole. Hiss. I got goosebumps just thinking about it, and I felt pain for Li Xiao. Chong Shuang, who was standing next to him, probably felt pained and distressed, so she reached out to pull Xu Chao. It would have been fine if she hadn't pulled him, but as soon as she pulled him, Xu Chao remembered that there was still a bitch to deal with, so he got off Li Xiao, whose face was swollen like a pig's head, and slapped Chong Shuang in the face. I think you've had enough of living. I don't beat you enough, right? Ah, I gave you face. After saying that, he slapped her twice more loudly. Chong Shuang's nose bled from the beating, and she fell to the ground without standing firmly, crying, and her face was covered with red snot. Just as I was swinging the telescope left and right, tracking every wonderful scene and every expression, and was so busy that I flew, my cell phone rang. I picked it up reluctantly. Hello? Hello? Miss Shu? This is Xiao Yang. I'm almost downstairs in your community. Can you sign the contract normally today? Oh, I was so happy to watch that I forgot about this little supporting role who came to give himself up. 10. I stood up and looked downstairs. Yang Jie was about to step into the door of Building C where Li Xiao lived. Hurry up and call him. Xiao Yang, I'm not at home. I went to the bank early this morning. Yang Jie stopped. But I'm on my way back. It will take about 10 minutes to get to the community. You can sit on the chair opposite the gate of Building C and wait for me. Don't move, otherwise I won't be able to find you later. Yang Jie readily agreed on the phone and turned to sit on the chair. After a while, an old man carrying a violin case walked towards the chair and discussed something with Yang Jie. I know that old man. He used to walk and buy groceries with his wife every day. After returning to the community, they would habitually sit on the chair to rest. A few months ago, the old lady died of a sudden heart attack, leaving the old man alone. He would return to the chair at about the same time every day and play a song Butterfly Lovers on the violin to commemorate his wife. People in the community usually leave the chair empty and leave it to him tacitly. But at this moment, Yang Jie was completely acting like a gangster, saying, I took it first, so I am right. He crossed his chest, shook his feet, and turned his head to look away. After seeing that the negotiation was fruitless, the old man was dejected, walked back with a hunched back, and entered the gate of the next building. About 5 minutes later, several sick and crazy zombies suddenly rushed out from behind Yang Jie, biting his neck artery, and blood sprayed all over the ground. At the same time, creepy screams came from every corner of the community garden. The whole garden began to become restless, and the living people were chased by the zombies and fled everywhere, and the bitten people quickly turned into new zombies to bite people. In just over 10 minutes, there were all mutated zombies below, and no human figures were seen. The time of the zombie outbreak was exactly the same as in the previous life. The only difference was that I made up for the regret of the previous life and saved the infatuated old man. I also sent a box lunch to the scammer. This is the feeling, so cool. I hummed happily and pointed the telescope at the opposite side again. The three of them were standing on the balcony looking down at this moment, their faces full of fear. They must have witnessed the horror of zombies mutating and biting people downstairs. Li Xiao's eyes, swollen like purple buns, showed a lot of resentment, staring at a certain place downstairs. I took the telescope and looked in the direction he was staring. Oh, it turned out that he saw the freshly baked zombie, broken arm Xiao Yang. Are you still in the mood to miss your brother? Li Xiao. I advise you to worry more about yourself. If you stay at home, you will live with Xi Chao, and there will be no food at all. If you go out, you will be bitten to pieces by zombies in the corridor like I did in my last life. I think your current situation is not as good as your brother's. 11. Li Xiao can be a pig-killing scammer, and his reaction ability is still better than the other two idiots. Just like now, after the three people returned to the room in a daze, he was the first one to react to his situation. He knelt down in front of Xu Chao with a pop, and began to cry bitterly, trying to transfer the internal conflict to me. Brother Chao, listen to my explanation, all this is the work of Shu Ying, that bitch. I don't know what she said to you, but she took my phone away. Now, there is no evidence, and it all depends on her mouth. Don't be fooled by this bitch. After saying that, he rushed to the refrigerator and opened the door. Look. She took away all the food in the house. Isn't it obvious? This is clearly a trap set in advance, and you are also calculated together. Brother Chao, don't let her go. Xu Chao is muscular and simple-minded. He was incited by Li Xiao's words and immediately took out his mobile phone to make a call. The phone rang. I quickly jumped 20 times on the spot, cleared my throat, and answered with a breathless crying voice. It's so scary. Zombies. I was almost bitten to death by zombies. Woo woo woo. Brother Chao, are you okay at home? Xu Chao was stunned by my sudden concern, but soon returned to the questioning tone. Shu Ying. Are you setting a trap to trick me? I also questioned him righteously. What am I playing tricks on you with? Does Li Xiao deny that he cheated on you? You also saw those short videos, how can they be fake? Do I have to hide it from you and watch Cheng Shuang, that bitch, continue to cheat you? And now there are zombies everywhere on the street. I almost couldn't escape and was bitten to death. You are safe in my house, and you actually said that I cheated on you. You set up a trap. Xu Chao was obviously a little lacking in confidence on the phone. Then, why don't you have any food at home? I acted even more angry. I don't usually cook at home. When Chong Shuang comes over for dinner, I always ask her out for dinner. All the food at home is expired and thrown away. Is it worth you to question me about such a small matter? Originally, I was worried that you would have nothing to eat at my house, so I planned to ask my friends to find a way to send some food over. Now it seems that you and Li Xiao are in the same group, and you are helping him to anger me. You three love each other, but I am the only one who is fooled. When Xu Chao heard that I wanted to send him food, he quickly smiled. No, Shu Ying, look at you, why are you so anxious? I'm just asking casually. I hung up without listening to the rest of the words, and turned my phone to do not disturb. Xu Chao in the telescope was extremely anxious. He pressed his phone to redial several times, but found that my call still could not be dialed. He was so anxious that he kicked Li Xiao, who was kneeling beside him, and said, "You are the one who is causing trouble here and making me hungry. I will kick you to death." He kicked Li Xiao in the stomach several times to vent his anger, and kicked him so hard that he couldn't even scream in pain. "Humph, Li Xiao, whoever has the supplies is the boss now. The dirty water you threw is not threatening to me at all, but being kicked back by me is not something that can be explained away with a few words. Aren't you laughing at my pig brain? You can't even beat a pig brain, you are so rubbish." 12. For the next 3 days, the communication signal was not interrupted. Xu Chao kept trying to contact me. Every time he couldn't get through the phone, he beat Li Xiao and Cheng Shuang to vent his anger. But on the 4th day, the internet was down and the phone was unreachable. In a state of extreme hunger, Xu Chao also lost the strength to beat people, and the three of them collapsed on the floor of the living room. Compared with their hellish life, my life across the street was like heaven. Not only did I have meat and vegetables for 3 meals a day, but my landlord's sister Yao often used her son's drone to send me the buns, dumplings, pancakes, and pot-fried pork she made herself. She said that if it weren't for me, her family would never be so complete. Speaking of which, the fate between people is also very strange. She only met me once, but she could trust me so thoroughly. On the day she signed the rental contract, she received my reminder and went back to start stockpiling supplies. She stuffed the house so full that there was almost no way to walk. On the morning of the zombie outbreak, she cried and blocked the door, not letting her husband go to work and her son go to school. Everyone in the family thought she was crazy because of some stimulation, but they were stubborn and could only go along with her. But not long after, screams began to be heard from the bottom of the garden. The family trembled on the balcony. The mother-in-law fainted and woke up after taking a quick-acting heart-saving pill. Now her family and my family can live without pressure in the end times with supplies. Although I am much better off than in my previous life, it does not mean that revenge is over. On the contrary, if the scumbag and the mistress just starve to death, I don't think it will be a relief at all. I want them to taste the pain I have tasted. At 4 a.m., the preset alarm rang. While the 3 people opposite were still sleeping, I quietly put a little food in a plastic bag and hung it on the robotic arm of the drone. Li Xiao's balcony happened to have no anti-theft net, so I shook the drone over, put the supplies on the ground, and then withdrew the drone. I also sent a screenshot of a message to Xu Chao's mobile phone through the airdrop. "Take good care of them, I will send food later." After doing all this, I went back to catch up on my sleep. When I woke up again, it was already past 9 o'clock, and I hurried to the balcony to continue watching the progress. Xu Chao sat on the sofa, shaking his feet and eating instant noodles, while Li Xiao and Cheng Shuang knelt in front of him. Cheng Shuang stared at the bucket of noodles and begged, "Husband, I'm so hungry too. After you finish the noodles, can you leave me some soup?" Xu Chao sneered, finished the last mouthful of noodles, and put the bucket of noodles on the ground. "You can drink it, but you only deserve to drink it on the ground." Cheng Shuang had been hungry for a day and a night, and she didn't care about her image anymore. She lay on the ground and ate voraciously. After eating a few bites, she was pushed away by Li Xiao and snatched away. Cheng Shuang probably didn't expect that Li Xiao, who had been calling her baby, would fight with her because of a few mouthfuls of instant noodle soup. She started to cry loudly, tearing Li Xiao's clothes and fighting with him while crying. They were facing sideways to me, and I couldn't see the fight clearly through the telescope. But soon I received a clear frontal video from Xi Chao. In the video, the 2 people's hair and clothes were messy like beggars, lying on the ground, scrambling to reach the instant noodle bucket, and the noodle soup was all over their faces. They were as embarrassed as they could be. It seems that after a few days of hunger, Xi Chao has already known who to listen to and who to stand on the same front with. After that, every time it was time for dinner, I could receive the video he sent me on time, the couple loving each other eating. I have to say, watching it with rice is really more appetizing than eating broadcasts. 13. On the 64th day after the outbreak of the zombie virus, the comfortable days didn't last long, and suddenly there was a turn. At around 9 o'clock in the morning, several drones flew into the community, and the speakers on them automatically broadcast in a loop. The zombie virus antibody vaccine has been successfully developed. The government will start the zombie cleanup work as soon as possible. Please continue to stay at home and take good protection. The dawn of victory is just around the corner. The survivors in the community began to cheer when they heard the broadcast, but I was not happy at all. In my previous life, I died on the 3rd day of the virus outbreak, so I didn't know what the subsequent development would be like and how long it would last. In this life, I lived well for more than 2 months. Except for the communication network being cut off, water and electricity were supplied normally. I had a hunch that this virus was not completely out of the control of the government and might not last too long. But I did not expect that the vaccine would be developed by the country in such a short time. With the vaccine, humans will not get sick even if bitten by zombies. As long as the survivors are vaccinated, every time an area is cleared, there will be more and more people to clean up the zombies, and the progress will be faster and faster. In other words, at the latest, it will take only half a month for the zombies in the country to be almost cleared. This situation is very unfavorable to me. Now, if the 3 people on the opposite side survive until the end of the apocalypse and regain their freedom, the first thing they will do is to join forces to deal with me. No way. From today on, I will monitor their every move closely, and I have to find a way to make them quarrel among themselves. Unexpectedly, after hearing the news, Li Xiao prepared to strike first without waiting for me to do anything. First, at night, while Xu Chao was asleep, he secretly tried to win over Chen Shuangshua. Our hard days are about to end, but Xu Ying and Xu Chao, these 2 bitches, must be dealt with. Now. Although Chen Shuangshua had broken up with Li Xiao, when she heard that Xi Chao and I were to be dealt with, she gritted her teeth and nodded vigorously, agreeing with his statement. Then Li Xiao began to whisper in Chen Shuangshua's ear, but because the sound was too soft, I couldn't hear it clearly. But the next day, they didn't make any move. On the 4th day, when the food supply had been used up and Xu Chao could not get a response no matter how he contacted me, Li Xiao slowly spoke. Brother Chao, I think you should not wait any longer. Shu Ying, that bitch, knows that the zombies will be cleared out soon and everyone will be free again. In order to prevent us from taking revenge on her, she will definitely not send us any more food. She wants to starve us to death. Xu Chao was in a state of hunger and annoyance, and he was furious when he was provoked by Li Xiao's words. How dare this bitch play tricks on me? If I get out, the first thing I will do is kill her. Li Xiao immediately responded, Brother Chao, I think if we want to do it, we have to do it now. Think about it, after order is restored, you will do something illegal. Only now, 1 more or 1 less, no one will care. Besides, she dared to send food before, she must have stockpiled a huge amount of supplies. Kill her, and all those things will belong to us. Even if we eat to our heart's content every day, we may not have finished eating by the day when we finish cleaning up the zombies. Anyway, I will starve to death if I stay at home, so I might as well fight hard, don't you think so, Brother Chao? 14 I laughed in my heart, where do I plan to fight hard? Even if they knew I was nearby, the whole community was so big, would they search 1 room at a time? But I didn't expect that Li Xiao actually had a trick up his sleeve. After Xu Chao agreed to kill me with him, they immediately drew the curtains in the living room, blocking my view. Only Li Xiao's low voice came from the eavesdropper. I woke up in the middle of the night before and happened to see that supplies were delivered by drone from the opposite window. Then I secretly used the computer to find the location of my mobile phone yesterday and found that it was also in the opposite building. Based on these 2 points, it can be basically confirmed that Shu Ying, the bitch, is hiding in the room opposite. We take all the weapons that can protect us, kill our way out, kill her family and force her to open the door. If she doesn't open it for us, smash the door and let her not think about living. After listening to their plan, I looked downstairs. There are indeed not many zombies wandering in the community garden now, and they are also hungry and slow in movement. But just relying on this, you want to kill me at my door smoothly. You underestimated me, Shu Ying. I immediately cut my hand with a knife, smeared all the blood on a piece of clothing, and then tied the clothing to the drone. I heard the 3 people go out from the eavesdropping device, and I rushed to release the drone. The drone began to fly around the entire community garden. The strong smell of blood on the clothes aroused the bloodthirstiness of the zombies below. They began to become more and more crazy and chased the drone one after another. I shook the drone to Building C, and the 3 layers of zombies inside and outside immediately surrounded the gate of Building C. Just when I was about to be happy that the plan went smoothly, I suddenly thought, no. From Building C, you can also go to the underground parking lot. They are more likely to choose to take that more defensive route. I hurriedly shook the drone to fly in from the entrance of the underground parking lot. After flying for a while, I saw in the corner of the screen that the 3 people had just killed a zombie and were getting up and running towards the gate of my building on the 1st floor below. I pulled the drone up and parked it on a nearby beam. The zombies that followed the drone were attracted by the movements of the 3 people and began to rush towards them. I clearly saw on the screen that Li Xiao, who was running behind, was the first to turn around and find that there were zombies chasing them. He hurriedly patted Cheng Shuangshuao on the shoulder. After Cheng Shuangshuao turned around and understood him, they took the fire axes and kitchen knives in their hands and chopped at the legs of Xu Chao, who was running in front and had no idea. Xu Chao screamed in pain and fell to the ground. The wound on his leg slid out 2 deep blood marks on the ground. The bloodthirsty zombies behind him swarmed up and surrounded him. Xu Chao's desperate roar mixed with swear words echoed in the parking lot. After sacrificing the bait, the couple successfully ran into the door of the underground 1st floor, slammed the door shut, turned around and disappeared into the corridor. 15. I really didn't expect it. After 2 months, the couple reappeared in front of me, telling me their deep love for me. Li Xiao slapped the glass of the corridor door, tears of missing in his eyes. Wife, I finally found you. It's so good to see you alive. I really miss you. I will compensate you 1,000 times for the mistakes I made before. Please give me a chance to make it up to you. Open the door, wife. Let me in and hug you. Chong Shuang also lay on the glass and cried bitterly. Ying Ying, you are the best sister in my life. If it weren't for seeing you again, I would definitely not be able to bear it. I was just confused for a moment. You can forgive me, right? You said that no man in the world can compare to the deep feelings between us sisters. Oh, so touching. I leaned against the door frame, watching them admit their mistakes with all their heart, wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes, and slowly said, since you all realize that you are wrong, I will not pursue it. Li Xiao and Cheng Shuang were delighted when they heard the first sentence. But, in order to avoid the same betrayal from happening again, I don't accept the three of us living together in the future. Li Xiao frowned. What do you mean? I sighed. It means that I can only let one of you come in and continue to live with me, but you are all the most important people in my life, I can't choose. Li Xiao immediately understood, and expressed his loyalty with sincere eyes, then let me go in. Alone, my wife, I will marry you in the future, and spend my whole life to make up for you. The mistakes I made before were seduced by Cheng Shuang, that bitch, otherwise I would never have made up for you. I never thought of doing anything to let you down. Cheng Shuang stared at Li Xiao in amazement, and hurriedly distanced herself from him. Ying Ying, don't believe him. He got me drunk and seduced me when I was unconscious. You can't believe what a scumbag says, you have to believe your good sisters. And he was just caught by a zombie, and he will soon become. Before Cheng Shuang finished her words, Li Xiao grabbed her neck viciously. What nonsense are you talking about, bitch? I was not caught, it was just a scratch. I looked at what Cheng Shuang said, and there were indeed 3 obvious scratches on Li Xiao's arm, and there was blood. He probably felt guilty, so he decided to use a big move, pinching Cheng Shuang's neck and pushing her all the way to the stairs. You are the one who has wronged my wife. I will punish you, a bitch, for her. Go to hell. Then he threw her to the bottom of the stairs and slammed the door at the entrance of the stairs. He remained indifferent even though Cheng Shuang cried and shouted outside, banged on the door and kicked it, and even attracted the nearby zombies to scream in pain. This cruelty was exactly the same as when he threw me out in his previous life. After doing all this, Li Xiao turned around and said to me gently outside the corridor door. Wife, I have avenged you. Please open the door for me. I walked over with a smile and unlocked the door with the key. Seeing this, he happily wanted to slip in through the crack of the door. At this moment when he was unprepared, I suddenly grabbed the high-voltage electric baton that had been hidden behind me and pushed it into his stomach. The high-voltage current immediately made him lose most of his consciousness and fell to the ground in convulsions. I squatted down and continued to give him electric shock therapy, and explained to him with a smile. Honey, thank you for helping me get revenge. But your current situation is very dangerous, so you can only be treated specially. I believe that the government will definitely find a way to save you later. 16. 10 days later, my doorbell rang. Hello, Mom. We are sent by the government to vaccinate survivors against the zombie virus. How many survivors are there in your family? I happily opened the door and reported to the staff truthfully. There are 2 in my family, me and my fiancé. Then please ask your fiancé to come out, we will register the information, and then we can vaccinate you. I looked embarrassed. I'm afraid it's not convenient for him to come out. His situation is a bit special. The staff turned around and nodded to the back, and then 2 other sturdy staff members came forward and sandwiched me on the left and right. Mom, please take us to see your fiancé. I was puzzled, what is this for? The staff did not respond directly to me, you just need to cooperate with our work, we will definitely provide you with help. I had no choice but to take the key and take them to the door of the small room, telling them to be careful, and then open the door. Li Xiao, who had turned into a zombie, was wandering in the room. When he saw the door open and a room full of feasts outside, he rushed over frantically. But before he could get close, 2 JCs in explosion-proof suits rushed out from behind me. One of them skillfully held his head with a net, and the other chopped off his head with a machete. The action was so smooth that not much blood was splashed. The 2 staff members beside me pulled me away from the scene, leaving their colleagues to start antivirus cleaning. The staff holding the registration form comforted me and said, your fiancé has turned into a zombie, and the vaccine is no longer useful to him. We have dealt with this situation many times, and you are not an exception, so slowly accept this fact. It's not easy for everyone. I still hope you can deal with this situation rationally in the future. Thank you for your cooperation with our work. I nodded with tears in my eyes. Thank you for the staff's guidance. I will definitely correct my mistakes and deal with it rationally in the future. After the room was disinfected and cleaned, they checked the remaining 2 rooms again to make sure that I had no other family members hiding. They also sent a female staff member to check if I had any wounds scratched by zombies before vaccinating me. 10 days later, the communication network began to recover. The news that domestic zombies have been cleared and all survivors have been vaccinated occupied the headlines of major social media. Sister Yao called me as soon as she saw it. Sister, did you see the news? Emma, that's great, we are finally free. Come to my sister's house to celebrate, our whole family is waiting to see you. Although I lost my fiancé, I got a sister who cares about me every day, and a whole family of real family. So, I didn't lose out, right?